Chapter 1: The New Girl. Mia walked into the crowded high school hallway, her eyes scanning the sea of unfamiliar faces. She was the new girl, and she could feel the eyes of her classmates on her as she made her way to her locker. She tried to ignore the feeling of being watched and focused on getting to her first class. As she walked down the hallway, she couldn't help but notice a boy standing at the end of the hallway. He was tall, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. He was different from the other students, and Mia couldn't help but feel drawn to him. The boy's name was Sebastian, and he was the most popular boy in school. He was known for his mysterious demeanor and his ability to charm anyone he wanted. He was also known for his dark secrets, and Mia couldn't help but wonder what they were. As she passed by Sebastian, he turned his head and looked at her. Their eyes met, and Mia felt a shiver run down her spine. She quickly looked away, not wanting to be caught staring. Mia made it to her first class, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Sebastian was watching her. She tried to ignore it and focus on her lesson, but she couldn't concentrate. All she could think about was the mysterious boy with the piercing blue eyes. As the day went on, Mia couldn't help but notice Sebastian everywhere she went. He was always there, watching her with a knowing look in his eyes. She didn't know what it meant, but she couldn't help but feel a pull towards him. As the school day came to an end, Mia was relieved to finally be able to leave. She gathered her things and made her way to her car. As she was about to unlock her door, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned around to see Sebastian standing there, a smirk on his face. "I've been watching you all day, Mia," he said, his voice low and husky. "I've been waiting for the right moment to talk to you." Mia's heart skipped a beat as she looked into Sebastian's eyes. She didn't know what to say, so she just stared at him. Sebastian leaned in closer, his lips inches from her ear. "I know what you are," he whispered. "And I know what you want." Mia's heart raced as Sebastian pulled away and walked away, leaving her standing there with a million questions running through her mind. She didn't know what Sebastian meant, but she knew one thing for sure: her life was about to change forever. Chapter 2: The Secret. Mia couldn't shake the feeling that Sebastian knew something about her that she didn't know. She spent the next few days trying to figure out what he meant by "I know what you are." She tried to ignore him, but he seemed to be everywhere she went. He would always be there, watching her with that knowing look in his eyes. Mia couldn't take it anymore, she had to know what Sebastian knew. She decided to confront him after school one day. She walked up to him and asked him straight out, "What do you know about me?" Sebastian looked at her with a smirk on his face and said, "I know that you're not like the other students here. You're different." Mia was confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. Sebastian leaned in closer, his voice low and husky. "I know that you're a vampire," he whispered. Mia's heart skipped a beat. She had always known that she was different, but she had never thought of herself as a vampire. She had always assumed that she was just different in a normal way. Sebastian could see the look of shock on her face, and he continued, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. I understand what it's like to be different." Mia was still in shock. "How do you know I'm a vampire?" she asked. Sebastian smiled. "I can sense it. I'm a vampire too." Mia couldn't believe it. She had always thought that vampires were only in myths and legends. But here she was, talking to one. Sebastian could see the fear in her eyes, and he reassured her, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. I understand what it's like to be different, and I want to help you." Mia was still in shock, but she felt a sense of relief knowing that she wasn't alone. She had always felt like an outsider, but now she had someone who understood her. Sebastian took her hand and said, "Come on, let me show you around. I'll introduce you to the others." Mia followed him, still in shock, but also excited. She had always felt alone, but now she had found a group of people who were like her. And she had Sebastian, who she couldn't help but feel drawn to. As they walked, Sebastian turned to her and said, "Welcome to the world of the vampires, Mia." Chapter 3: The Kidnapping. Mia was finally starting to feel like she belonged. She had Sebastian to guide her through the world of the vampires and a group of friends who understood her. She was finally starting to feel like she had a place in this world. But her newfound happiness was short-lived. One night, as she was leaving Sebastian's house, a black car pulled up beside her. Before she could react, a group of men jumped out of the car and grabbed her. They covered her mouth and dragged her into the car. Mia struggled and tried to fight back, but it was no use. The men were too strong. They quickly drove away, leaving Sebastian and her friends behind. Mia was terrified. She had no idea who these men were or what they wanted with her. She tried to keep calm and think of a way to escape. As the car drove on, the men revealed their true identity. They were a group of vampire hunters, and they had been tracking her for weeks. They believed that she was a powerful vampire and they wanted to use her for their own purposes. Mia was horrified. She had never hurt anyone and she didn't want to be used as a weapon. She tried to plead with the hunters, but they wouldn't listen. They took her to a secret location, where they locked her in a cell. They told her that she would stay there until they were ready to use her. Mia was determined to escape. She searched her cell for any weaknesses and found a small window that she could possibly fit through. She waited until nightfall, when the hunters were less alert, and made her move. She managed to squeeze through the window and found herself outside in the woods. She was free, but she was far from safe. She knew that the hunters would be searching for her, and she had to find a way to get back to Sebastian and her friends. Mia ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding. She had to find a way to get back to Sebastian and warn him about the hunters. She knew that they were after him too, and she couldn't let them hurt him. As she ran, she realized that she was in love with Sebastian. She couldn't imagine losing him to the hunters. She had to find him and protect him, no matter what. Mia's love for Sebastian gave her the strength to keep running. She knew that she couldn't let the hunters win. She had to fight for her love and her freedom. As she finally reached Sebastian's house, she was exhausted but relieved. She had to tell him what had happened and warn him of the hunters' plans. She knew that together, they could defeat them and protect their love and their future. Chapter 4: The Plan. Mia ran into Sebastian's house and told him everything that had happened. She explained how the hunters had kidnapped her and how they were after him as well. Sebastian was shocked and angry. He couldn't believe that someone would want to harm them for no reason. Sebastian knew that they needed to act fast. He gathered their friends and together, they made a plan to protect themselves from the hunters. They knew that they couldn't face them alone, so they decided to seek help from other vampires in the community. The group reached out to the local vampire council and explained their situation. The council was shocked and saddened by the news of the hunters' attack, and they immediately offered to help. They knew that they had to protect their own kind, especially the young and vulnerable. The council provided them with a team of experienced vampire warriors who could help them fight the hunters. With the council's help, they were able to gather information about the hunters' whereabouts and make a plan of attack. The group decided to strike first, before the hunters could harm anyone else. They attacked the hunters' hideout in the middle of the night, catching them off guard. The hunters were no match for the vampire warriors and the group's combined strength. The battle was intense, but in the end, the group emerged victorious. The hunters were defeated and captured, and the group was able to free the other vampires that the hunters had captured. Mia was relieved and grateful for the council's help. She knew that they couldn't have done it without them. She also couldn't help but feel grateful for Sebastian, who had been by her side throughout the entire ordeal. Sebastian looked at her with a smile and said, "You're safe now." "You're not alone anymore." Mia smiled back and leaned in to kiss him. She knew that he was right, she was not alone anymore. She had a family and a community that would protect her, and most importantly, she had Sebastian, who she knew was her forever. The group's victory was not only a triumph over the hunters, but also a triumph over their fear. They had proven that together they could overcome anything. They returned to their normal lives, but now they knew that they had to always be prepared for any threats that might come their way. They knew that they would always have each other's backs, and that was all they needed. Mia and Sebastian's love had grown stronger through their trials. They knew that they would face anything as long as they had each other. If you like this video, please give it a like and share. Subscribe the channel for more amazing stories.